Today we are going to discuss the principle of effective leadership. Before the recent reform efforts, school administrators were often neglected as part of the change process. According to Michael Fullan in The New Meaning of Educational Change, new research has emerged that provides evidence that principals have great impact on change, both positively and negatively. He further explains that effective principals are strategic and have an intentional focus on school improvement. The contents within this presentation will help further define what school administrators should strive for in order to effect positive change. Leadership for turnaround efforts focuses on many aspects of the school, but requires a balance between instructional leadership and operational leadership. Instructional leadership not only requires principals to deeply know and understand teaching and learning, but also requires the capacity to ensure effective and intentional strategic planning as a result of data analysis. It also requires the principal to ensure the use of standards-aligned curriculum, higher-level assessments, both formative and summative, and a critical look at teacher performance and development through rigorous evaluation methods. This operational leadership side is equally as rigorous. Principals should have operational flexibility from their district office because they need to be able to make decisions to align with their strategic plan. This includes decision-making flexibility with staffing, scheduling, and professional development. Operational flexibility also includes engaging stakeholders in the process. This means that not only are parents engaged in the process, but community supports, businesses, and neighborhood members are included as partners to support the growth of students. Let's dig more into each of these areas a little bit deeper. In the upcoming slides, we will discuss specific examples that are provided to focus and priority schools as a highly effective practice of leadership. Let's begin with developing a mission and vision for the school. It is important that multiple stakeholders be involved in the process and that the mission and vision is consistently communicated and referred to with students, staff, and stakeholders so everyone knows the direction of the school. This mission and vision then leads to all future development of strategic planning. Staff should also be able to articulate the expectations, goals, and give a current picture of the performance of the school. Once the mission and vision is created and the principal has collaboratively developed a shared set of expectations and beliefs, the school can begin the strategic planning process. A great school improvement plan is not one that is written, turned in, and set on a shelf. Rather, it is one that is flexible and revisited often. Keeping the goals of your strategic plan in front of you and your staff at all times is important to drive school improvement. Part of this process is to regularly review and analyze multiple forms of data in multiple areas. Having data protocols as part of your school culture ensures that the school improvement plan is being looked at and followed. Everyone is looking at data, including students. In addition to having a data-driven culture, it is important for principals to make sure that there is a welcoming and safe culture at the school. This means that the school and staff feel safe and visitors feel welcome when they come in. To accomplish this, the principal ensures that an effective behavior system is in place and followed consistently. You may hear classroom teachers say, "When I send a student to the office, the principal doesn't do anything with them." Or you may say yourself that a teacher doesn't handle discipline in his or her classroom and that they immediately send them to the office. Having a shared set of expectation on behavior is critical. Students will know from class to class what the procedures, rules, and consequences are, and they can articulate those expectations. Having these things in place is not enough, however. It is important for the building leader to continuously conduct those reviews of climate and culture of the building. This refers back to the data piece mentioned earlier. Effective leaders should consistently ask themselves, how are we doing and what can we do to improve? Looking at behavior referrals, climate surveys, safety checks, and in general, talking to stakeholders are an important part of improving school climate. Principals will need to include families in this endeavor also. This should not be a one-way street of principals sending information home, but truly inviting families to be part of the decision-making process. Curriculum, instruction, and assessment are going to make a huge impact in the performance of the school. With new evaluation systems in place, the principals are required to be instructional leaders. Teachers need to be able to go to their principal and say, "I know that my students need to learn this, and I need help with instructional and assessment strategies." This is why it's so important for principals to be in the classrooms conducting regularly scheduled walkthroughs and observations. Having these instructional conversations is essential. Not only is it important for principals to see the teaching, it is important for principals to consistently and regularly review lesson plans. Do the lesson plans include rigor in instruction and assessment? Are the lessons aligned to the state standards? Does the teacher have a plan to check for understanding? And how is the teacher going to engage the students? All of these data collected from these observations and lesson plan reviews will help drive professional development. Instead of drive-by professional development, now the professional development will be very intentional, aligned to your mission and vision, goals, data, and needs of the school. As an effective leader, the building principal will ensure that the strategies and practices learned at the professional development are being implemented due to the walkthroughs and observations. We keep talking about the data review systems in place, and hopefully you are seeing that it is an integral component of school improvement. Teachers will need to have time to look at the data, but the data discussion has typically focused on the what rather than the how. It is easy to identify what students are struggling in. What piece is missing is how are we going to teach it to address these particular students. This requires teachers to not only focus on the percentage of students who did not master the skill, but which students did not master the skill. What kind of learners are they? How can I present the information differently to reach those learners? So the question to ask during your data protocol is, how are you going to teach this content, and how will you react to those who haven't mastered it by the end of the lesson? A huge job of a principal in a turnaround school is to have the right people in the right positions. This is why your observations and walkthroughs are so important. These cannot be taken lightly, and not only does your evaluation system need to be rigorous, but your walkthroughs need to be very intentional and focused. Think about what you are looking for and hone in on that one thing. If you have a teacher implementing a new practice, look for it. If there is a teacher who struggles with classroom management, look for those strategies. Doing so will help you identify opportunities for professional development as well as staffing changes at the end of each year. Moving a weak teacher to a strong team or a strong teacher to a weak team. This also assists you in making recruiting decisions. If you know what you're looking for, you will be able to elicit those things in interviews and demonstration lessons. In addition, as principals, it is always important to schedule collaboration time for teachers. But even more important is to ensure that the collaboration time is used effectively. It is not just for scheduling and creating calendars. Collaboration time should be for instructional conversations that include looking at data, instruction, curriculum, and assessment. Simply saying we will do lesson 3 on Monday, lesson 4 on Tuesday is not sufficient. Discussing lesson 3's instructional strategies and assessment opportunities for Monday is sufficient. Even better is discussing how many students mastered lesson 3 objectives and what will we do to push them forward. This collaboration time is very focused on instructional priorities that are again aligned to your mission and vision and goals of the school. Scheduling can be a nightmare when you have to consider lunches, related arts classes, prep times, intervention times, and many other challenges. Effective building principals prioritize instructional time for both ELA and math and interventions are in place for students who are 2 or more years behind. This can be a daunting task, but to maximize the opportunities, it may be helpful to bring other people to the table that may have ideas about how the schedule can be improved. Keeping a schedule stagnant for the sake of not changing it is not helpful to teachers, but especially not for students. Where can you place extra intervention time, and who will staff it? What will students do during that time? The additional piece that we talked about somewhat already is the need for collaboration time for teachers. If it's not scheduled, then it must not be important. Scheduling is part of communicating your expectation. If you expect it, then it should be on the schedule. As mentioned before, family engagement should be a two-way street involving families in the decision-making process. Often principals communicate well with parents by sending information home, calling, putting information on their website. But effective leaders bring families and community members to the table to discuss student needs and involve them in goal setting. These extra stakeholders may have a different cultural background that could provide some insight on some of your students. They also may know of different community resources available. You may decide to do a quarterly coffee talk or monthly family nights. Whatever the vehicle, how are you eliciting their ideas and input as a result of sharing your school's data? How are you building partnerships in the capacities of parents to help at home? How are you building partnerships with community resources? I hope that these ideas have inspired your thinking and planning in regards to effective leadership. There is a comprehensive list of resources available on the outreach page to further help your understanding of this turnaround principle, as well as resources to utilize to drive improvement. Please don't hesitate to contact your region's outreach coordinator for additional resources and support.